And welcome to the Inside Football podcast. My name's Andy Taylor, and I'm joined once again by Kiwi and Nick, who are going to help me break down all things flag. And it's great to have you guys back. It's been, a month already since we were last together. It's flown by, isn't it? And now we're in the postseason football, so we're looking forward to kind of breaking down what happened in the final game day in the NFFL and looking forward to what that means for playoff football and a little look ahead to 2026. And we've got some news to bring you as well, because we've got some important games going on in the next week or so as well at an international level. So let's get straight into it, because we went long last time, guys. We went real long last time.
It was all the puns. It was the puns' fault.
I was tempted to kind of bleep out every pun, but it would be like a bleep every couple of seconds. But Nick, glad to have you back with us. We didn't put you off first time around.
No. I actually left my jacket, so I just came back to collect it. Actually,
Exactly.
I'm going to reduce the puns. I'm under punishment tonight. I'm going to keep.
Oh no! Right, moving quick.
It's okay. Gets out of hand. I will of course fire the Nerf gun at myself. Super. Check. Let's go.
I love the disclaimer that we got from the Border Centurions last time, which was none of his opinions are reflected by our club or something like that.
Yeah, that's still the team captain. He's he should really be an illegal from, but he's known me long enough. He's like, this guy doesn't speak on behalf of anyone on earth. Yeah,
brilliant, amazing.
Right. Anyway, great to be back with you, Andy. Kiwi. Happy to peel off another layer of the beautiful onion that is the flag football game.
International. That rolls on, doesn't it? Because next week? Yeah, it's next week still. So next week, the GB women are out in China, which is obviously a big deal for multiple reasons. And I'm sure you guys will break that down. But they travelled out there. They're out there already, aren't they? I think they travelled out there yesterday, and they saw some nice social media posts keeping us up to date with what's going on. But they're out there at the World Games. I don't know if one of you want to try and break down what that means, because certainly for some listeners, they might not have heard of the World Games before, especially in the contact world. So, yeah, anyone want to try and pick that up and describe what the World Games is?
Well, I don't know. I can start maybe. Nick, you feel free to chip in. But I think maybe then, the World Games is obviously, it's somewhere between world champs and what we're talking about through the Olympics, right? So the reason that this is so important in the women's game is we know that only 6 teams are going to qualify for the Olympics, right? And all of these fixtures, games are going to give us points onto our IFF ranking that will hopefully help us.
Is what they say, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they call it, but there's this really intense formula for how we work out, or how they work out, shall I say, who's ranked where and how many points they have, and that determines their ranking. But all of this is really important for World Games, and there's only 8 teams at World Games, right? And so GB women qualified for World Games at the end of the World Championships last year by finishing 8th. They just snuck into that last slot for World Games. It's the first time that we've been to World Games, so super important. But also because we have a fair idea how Olympics qualification will work, but it's not 100% set in stone. So anything we can do will help us on that path to qualifying for Olympics. The next big step, 2 things after World Games, are obviously how we perform at Euros. We want to defend our Euros title this year, be top of Europe ideally, and then we've got another World Champs before we look to the Olympics. So all of these things add up to help us get to World qualification, because in fairness, and I don't think anybody would disagree with this, the women are probably our best hope for qualifying for the Olympics at this point. Now, that could all turn depending on how GB men perform at Euros this year. That's their real pinnacle. They have to show some, improvement against these tough European teams and really win, or at worst case come second in Euros to even really probably stand a chance for a Olympics qualification. But the women, as we know, are defending European champions. So they've got kind of that, pedigree, shall we say, going in where there is a decent chance that we could qualify for the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what she said.
That's what she said.
That's in a nutshell. For anyone who thought that we're automatic going to the Olympics, you've now had that bubble burst. There is a seeding system, remarkably,
Mm-hmm.
Olympics. And our women's team, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're great. They're trailblazers. All hopes with those guys out there. And I think, they might be going into it as a kind of lowly seed, but we have to remember this is also it's a different part of the world for most of the teams that are playing there. So there's going to be certain factors too. When you go away to these international tournaments, when you're out your own time zone, when you're out your own comfort zone, when you're not, able to connect with your friends and your family, when you get this kind of sense of being inside a bubble. I remember that when we went to the Women's Contact World Championships in 2017, we were hours in Vancouver, so we're in completely different time zones to everyone back home. And some folk they crack under that situation because they don't have their support structures. One of the good things I think we've got in this team is there's a lot of really resilient people there, I think it's I don't know. I think it's an interesting environment to put them in, to see how they endure under that pressure and then come up against these teams, because it's obviously it's a fairly tough group. This when you got Mexico in there, and as you were obviously educating us just prior to switching on the podcast tonight in terms of how that finished up last time. That's no mean feat. It is fortunately a viewable game in terms of the time zones. It won't require one to be up in the night. But I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be disorientating. But I think our women's team are resilient. They've got people out there too, like Thebes and that, who are obviously used to literally living in a different time zone every day of the week. So I don't think she'll be like a fish in water, to be honest with you. Let's just see how they go on. Let's see how they rise to the challenge. Let's see how the teams make or break in the pressure of that situation. But the best thing about going into things as an underdog is you got nothing you got nothing on you. You know what I mean? You're not carrying any weight. You're not carrying it. You're just there to just put out your best game. And you got Mexico, the expectation, the pressure, being in that distant environment, being away from your social structure, your support structures. That's a really lonely island to be standing on. So big things can happen in those kind of situations.
At the very least, it's part of the prep as well, isn't it? Yeah, they have to come away with points if they want to stand a chance of making it to LA in 28. But still, nonetheless, if they're at the very least, that they can take this away as an opportunity to play against these amazing athletes, such as the Americans, who have got famous football players, haven't they, in there as well? Let alone the surprise package of Japan, which they've got, and then we now know that they've got Italy, who replaced Spain, who chose not to go to World Games, is what we understand. So opportunities galore for them, isn't it, for this program, which is just amazing to give them. We wish them best of luck, of course. Anything else to add, Kiwi?
I was going to say they've obviously taken some new players out as well, which is a really good opportunity to blood those new players in those international games early, particularly before they get to the pressure of Euros, where they're going to have to go up and really have to defend that title at Euros. And also, I've said it before, and I'm sure nobody's going to hold it against me, but a lot of those GB players who are playing now, even if we made the Olympics in 28, probably won't be playing in 28. Some of that squad has been there for a while. So the key future for the Olympics hopes rests on, yes, us qualifying, but also having players experienced at an international level to represent us in 28, because several of those players in that GB squad have been there for a while, and probably, I can imagine we're going to see probably some retirements ahead of 28, even if we do make it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, but it's when the I think great expression that was thrown at me again last week. Somebody was, when the tide rises, it lifts all the ships. Like those guys out there doing that. There's a sacrificial side to it, like you say. There's players who will obviously be thinking, "Am I going to still be in this level of my fitness in 3 years from now? That's a difficult one to say. There's some players in that older bracket too, though, you look at and just think, well, they're still freak athletes, so I think they're still going to be back for a spot. It'll be an interesting dynamic, but let's focus in on the here and now. And you're absolutely right to talk about the pressures of that group in terms of the quality of teams. My goodness, it's going to be, there is that sort of jump ahead in the order of things, but there is a final game that's at 7 a.m. in the morning. Kiwi and I were both talking before there with Andy about the fact that it could come down to a crazy result in that game that sees that seeding suddenly boost up or not. We'll all be awake for that. It's going to be 7 in the morning, which is like a great time of day to get a bit of flag football going on your phone.
Cornflakes for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think like Nick's saying that, so just to cover off the group, then you've got Italy, as you mentioned, replacing Spain, arguably someone that GB has seen regularly and is definitely, they will consider that beatable, definitely. Spain, we know, probably would have been a stiffer challenge given, the close game that we saw in the Euros final.
Euro finals back to back, was it?
Exactly. Then Japan, who we obviously lost to in the quarterfinal of the World Champs last year. So not an unknown to GB now. I think probably to an extent we went into that game against Japan not fully knowing
came away
what
with
to
the bronze medal.
Yeah, having not played them, I think Japan really came into that World Champs as kind of an underdog. Came out and proved themselves on that world stage, but GB have seen them now. They have an idea of what to expect. So definitely I think they'll be targeting a win there. And then clearly Mexico, which is a tough challenge for anybody, runners up. At least the last two World Champs, I think. And you said, Andy, they're current World Games champions. So
that's what they're pumping out of the socials. The World Games, the current champs, Mexico. I don't know.
So, but again, from a caliber and a learning perspective, even if you lose to Mexico, playing that caliber of team and learning and developing, and you only get better by playing better teams, right? I think we've talked about that before. So, for GB women, it's only going to be growth from here, even if it is a tough game against Mexico.
There's an interesting little thing that happens inside the one of those games too. I mean, we're talking about Italy first, Japan, then Mexico. So you could theoretically, and I don't want to paint myself in a corner here, but you're theoretically saying you're starting with the easiest game, hypothetically, a tougher game, the toughest game. Okay, now, by the time you get that third game, you could be in a situation where Mexico have qualified. They know that they've gone through the group, no one's going to catch them, they've beaten the other two teams and are in a very strong position. In those situations, really good teams can often drop the guard or try out different things or introduce other players or da-da-da-da-da. A lot of those things can stack in our favour. And it's an interesting run at it. I mean, you take that run at it over anything. In terms of you get a game, gets your feet under the table, you can feel comfortable. Hopefully, we can see a win against Italy. Then it gets a bit tougher, it gets a bit more salty, but you're there, you're ramping it up, and then you've got that game at the end. So I like the way that runs for us. It's far better than having a kind of, you go out, you get absolutely walloped on your first game day, you're in a strange environment, heads go down, there starts to be issues within the camp in terms of within the team morale and such. I don't know. I think there's a whole bunch of ingredients here that also suit us coming in as an underdog that you can often exploit in those situations. And if we can catch Mexico sleeping at the end and they're through, anything can happen. We can see what happens,
And some players that their opposition haven't seen yet either. Yeah, okay. There's the usual that have been out there in most of the competitions that have been in the recent years. But there are, as Kiwi said, there's new players out there. They have no idea what they can bring. Looking at some of the players that they've taken that we saw in Ravenscraig in March. There's some really quick players in that they've taken that weren't there at Euros and Worlds in the last cycle. So really excited to see what happens. So absolutely, best of luck, stay safe, keep yourselves well, all that, and we'll be watching and we'll be celebrating alongside you for sure. Slight other bit of news just before we get into the domestic is that the WFFL has opened up its registrations at last. I heard the fanfare from Cheshire all the way over here in North Liverpool from Kiwi, who was finally glad to see that registration link be sent out. If you are listening and you have missed it, go find it because it's open and ready to register for another cracking WFFL season. That we don't know the start date yet, I don't think, but it's it's certainly usually around the October time, isn't it? That kicks off.
They have sent out some provisional game days to teams, and it is looking like October.
Great, amazing. So that's my PSA, I think, for the day. Let's move on to more fun stuff, which is the domestic game. And so, where we're at now, we have completed all our game days within the NFFL season. Game day 7 happened 2 weekends ago now, I think it was. And so that means that we're all set. And we're ready for playoffs. So we're going to take you through what happened in that final game day, the jeopardy that came along with it, because there was plenty of it, plenty of chaos that happened across all leagues, and what that means for the playoffs that are coming in the second weekend of September, isn't it, in Manchester?
It is indeed,
14th, 15th in my head. So,
13th, 14th, 13th being the Saturday. It's going to be unlucky for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will talk about who that might be soon.
Tons of let's go.
So Nick has come along. He's put fresh ideas into the podcast, and he's told us that we should start in the South, and we agreed. So let's have a look at the Premiership South to start off with.
Stuart is going to be having kittens.
Oh, he's going to have a meltdown. But we are here now. So Nick, we got here in the Southern A, and we already knew that the Smoke were champs. I think at this point, I think we didn't know their seedings, and there was plenty more to come from within this game day, especially seedings, getting into the playoffs, who might be making national leagues next year, and so on. And there was quite a bit of movement in these Southern leagues that you wanted to obviously touch upon, but kind of take us through what you saw.
Well, I mean, really exciting. Of all of the conferences across the Prem and Division 1, there was no mover like the Southern Premiership A. What we saw is 2 key teams suddenly dropping down, a leapfrogging of 2 places up the table for the Chichester Sharks. We saw, it looks like the Storm finding some of the Smoke, my apologies, finding some of their best form this season, increasing their average points per game. They did give up a little bit more in defence than usual, but I mean, when you take a look at things like that, they're putting out that 70-13 score against the Spark. Well, that's, that they really set a statement. So, what kind of major movements we saw on the table as a result of the game day was we suddenly saw the London Fire and we saw London Rebels both drop down. We saw them being leapfrogged by Chichester Sharks. That has had a dramatic effect on the overall playoff picture, where we suddenly see the London Rebels unbelievably falling out of playoff contention. They will not be going to Manchester. Do not book your hotel, as we say in this podcast. Yeah. And London Fire getting a little bit squeaky there too, but Chichester Sharks suddenly find themselves catapulted into the playoffs. Absolutely fantastic. So I think there's a lot to chew at here in terms of Southern A. There's some really good performances on paper. You obviously can't take anything away from Smoke. Smoke have, without a doubt, they've absolutely stamped their authority all over things. They've confirmed it in the final game. They gave up a little bit more in defence than they're used to, but their offence was absolutely smoking. It was like a loaded barrel. So you got to give them respect for that. At the same time, too, let's also just tip a cap though to the Chichester Sharks. Put out 71 against London Spark.
Their whole programme had a weekend. We'll get on to Division 1 in a little while. But their whole programme that weekend
they had some games. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, please, no, go for it. I'm literally just going to show over the fact that, barring London Fire, they did some serious upset jobs. They upset the First City by making sure that they dumped on Spark 71-20. Then they went out. They had a tough game against Rebels, but they overcame, and that, as I said before, has had a significant impact on the Rebel season. It's literally killed the Rebel season. And that looks like a great game, 46-37. I mean, that must have been a battle. Heartbreaking for the Rebels. You don't put up 37 points and lose a game and lose your spot and slide out of qualification for the playoffs. That's tough. But then obviously, but then getting that draw, London Fire 34-34. Gosh. I mean, I'll shut up for a second, but that to me was just...
like this is in order. this is in running order. So just imagining how that played out, knowing full well that the only thing that was certain, I think, if I remember correctly, was the smoke had made it. So you then, obviously, Reading Devils would have been very much favourites. They certainly would have felt confident about making it. They would have had to have really capitulated to not make it. But then, so if you've got smoke come out and beat the Rebels, then the Fire and the Sharks, they tie, and that tie ended up being a huge point that actually meant that both of those qualified in the end, and it did. And the London Fire made it ahead of Rebels because of that tie. Whereas if Sharks had won, it'd have been a different kettle of fish. It would have been the same. Or it would have gone down to head against the Rebels. Had the Fire won that game, so that was a huge turning point in that day. And
squeaky as anything. I mean, let's
squeaky.
There's a stat within that stat that's even more scary. London Rebels put up 499 points this season, right? London Fire put up 495 points. I mean, it's like we're not just talking about like a draw on the day too. I mean, if this thing had come down to any greater mass, that we're getting into this realm of suddenly, what do you mean after like 16 games you've only scored 4 more points than the other team that's just dumped out? That is an exciting finish. You know, that's
unbelievable. Great. MPPG separated by about 1.5, something like that. So it's really not a whole lot in that at all. So yeah, I agree with you. This was really, really interesting final day, and in the end, 4 teams have come out of this division, showing the quality of that division, which is nothing new, really, is it? You know, London, the first city do, as you call it, take a lot of the representatives usually at playoffs, but. In the end, Smoke end up going the 2nd seed, if I remember correctly. We'll have a look at that in a little while with the champions there in that division. And then they're going to be joined by the Devils, Sharks and Fire, which is impressive stuff, isn't it? Any other notes here before we have a little look at what happened in the other South, which was just as interesting?
I was just going, can you imagine the sidelines in that 34-34 tie, Fire, Sharks? Because anything that's that close, anything that's within a touchdown in those final minutes where games are won or lost, arguably, I can just imagine the tension and the drama on those sidelines. But as you said, Andy, not just from the teams playing, but probably from the Rebels somewhere trying to figure out what's going on other fields and watching what's going on. I think it looks like the Rebels might have had a first round bye as well. So they were probably trying to warm up and figure out what was going on another field where there's just people shouting. Like, I can just imagine the chaos.
I was just interested to see whether that final game would have been winner takes all, and it probably would have done, because the first game between Sharks and Rebels was only separated by 2 points, which it's difficult to get a separation of 2 points, isn't it? In more so in flag because there's more 2-point conversions, isn't there? But they were only separated by 2 points going into that final game. And so if the Rebels had won out by more than 2 points, they might have actually pipped it. So that would have been one hell of a game as well, that final game of that game day.
You need 3 eyes, don't you? You're watching the game in front of you. You're watching the sideline next to you. You've got, but that's what you want in a final. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's heartbreaking for Rebels. It's fantastic for Sharks, but this is what you want a league to do. You want a conference to come down to those final few moments of the last games of the season. I mean, that's what makes the game great. You know, that must have been a fantastic atmosphere. Congratulations, obviously, to Chichester, but heartbreaking for Rebels. You know, that's a bitter pill, because it's not just the way that it affects that. Also, I mean, that effectively means that, hey, guess what, guys? No matter what, you are going to be in Division 1 next year. You don't get a shot at the Prem. You don't go into that middle tier. You're in the 3rd tier. You know, and that's a real. That's a thing. Now, I expect them. Don't get me wrong. I expect them, and also as we'll come on to it later, Swansea Hammerhead to do extremely well in different structures next year. No, I got that wrong. I got my Prem mixed up.
I think 2nd tier, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
50. I'm 52.
Well corrected.
I'm 52 on Monday. Okay, 52 on Monday.
I knew you were going to get there. I had confidence.
Yeah. Doing well. You're doing well. But you know, I meant to say dropping down into that Prem tier instead of national. You're going to have a whole bunch of people expecting them to be pushing on real hard to be winning that, going back into or going up into the national. We'll see how that pans out. But the team of the hour in that fantastic conference got to be the Chichester Sharks. Fantastic work, well done to you. Just came and upset the London boys. Just rocked up and set the town ablaze without using any fire,
sparks, fire, and smoke.
Yeah,
100%. Brilliant. So let's have a little look at the Southern B then, because Swansea Hammerheads hosted this final game day where we again knew Cardiff Hurricanes were going, but they will be disappointed, I'm sure, with the two losses that they finished the season with, because I think they went undefeated last year, if memory serves. I think they even beat the Smoke in the regular season last year, but I could be wrong with that.
I think you're right.
There was some sort of trio that happened in the final cross-conference, wasn't there? But they will be joined by the Cheltenham Neptunes after this game day. So, some interesting results from here. Thankfully, we did see the Titans blue. We didn't see them last time, did we? But we saw them this time. Anything stand out to you guys here?
Kiwi, if you don't, then I'll just chew on. Go on.
I was just going to say, I feel for Swansea in this again, right? Like so
Amen.
close, but you know, a fab team and a great organisation, and I think we did nothing but sing their praises last season. And for them to miss out, and as you say, miss out on that, you know, top level of national next year, I think they will be very disappointed to not be playing nationally and also be missing out on Manchester this season. So, you know, tough. And I think, you know, when you look at the wins, you know, it's not that, you know, they've not missed out by much. And I think that's even harder. You'd rather miss out massively than miss out.
Well, they were only Division 1 last year. That would have been one hell of a journey, wouldn't it, if they managed to make national this year? So that to be away from that by what was it, 50%? The final person to get in. Did they finish with 500? No, Fire finished on 46.9, so they really did only miss out by half a game. And
they're a 0.438
against it. I haven't gone through all of that, but that's some season for the Swansea Hammerheads. But I'm looking at that second result, which stands out to me like a sore thumb. But where else were you thinking of going?
I'm going to echo what Kiwi says. I mean, Swansea made a great run at the end. They leapt 3 places up the national table. They really did everything they could have done on the day. You know, they set their stall out. They won the games. Unfortunately, coming back to that wonderful Southern Premiership A, it was probably how that panned out that actually had the net effect of meaning those guys couldn't make an incredible last-minute run. But as you said yourself there, Kiwi, you know, Paul, Swansea Hammerheads, the organisation, they're pros. They're good. They're really, really slick. They're a team that deserve, in my opinion, my humble opinion, to be at the national level. They will be there. Yes, it would have been a mercurial rise from a Div 1 team to shooting all the way through and then ending up in that top tier instead of settling into where the Premier bracket's going to be next year. But I see them as a team that's only going to go onwards and upwards. They're great, really well organised. Everyone probably listening to this in some way or another either knows Paul a bit or has in some way or another benefited from his organisational skills at various events. Even just being a good guy and just putting his arm around the team in the finals, who you barely know him and he's there, he's support. The guy breathes football. And that team are fantastic. I mean, they're just, sorry guys, I know this is a bit gratuitous if you're not a Swansea Hammerhead fan. If you happen to be from Cardiff, you probably hate me right now because there's the local rivalries. But he is a class act. Let's maybe talk about Cardiff though, however, and the Hurricanes. That whole table didn't change, by the way. Everyone finished in the same positions at the end of game day 7 that they had prior to that being in game day 6, despite the volatilities. And the Cardiff Hurricanes, you know, hats off. They did the job. They turned up. They did the job. They sealed it out. They did what they had to do. And as a consequence, they are going to be sitting pretty in the top 4 seeds. So therefore, they are automatically in the nationals. They do get that double bye, would it be, or I don't know how the
single
works.
Yeah,
single bye.
They'll wait.
Yeah, it's not the same as Div 1, but they're going to get that bye game. So they're going to have a little bit more of a lie-in than an 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock start in Manchester. But
maybe a bit warmer at that point.
I think by that time the sun has started to dry the ice on the lunar scant landscape of the north.
Do you not remember weekend of two halves last weekend? Saturday actually last year was absolutely glorious.
Beautiful.
And we were all
Got
baking.
burnt and then swam Sunday.
It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous on the Sunday.
Oh, the worst of the worst. Yeah. We
but
were
it wasn't
frosty. We were in the worst part. No, it wasn't. I'm only joking. Come on.
Wet.
The Scottish
Manchester rain.
The Scottish teams consider Manchester to be subtropical. But anyways, but we were in that. We were in a game. We were in, my goodness, the Saints were in the semi of the play. I think it was against a Manchester team, and the heavens opened. And Wilkie did something ridiculous in the backfield and then took our whole defense apart and scored a touchdown once again. It was just, it was horrendous. It was everything you don't want in Manchester. Manchester teams winning, it raining, having shoes full of soggy AstroTurf.
Everyone was getting fed up by that point as well, weren't they? Because I know there was people pleading for games not to be played as well.
But the Saturday, oh my goodness, the Saturday was glorious. Yeah, if you take pictures, take a look at Nicky from Glasgow. I mean, he literally looked like he was on holiday in Benidorm. He had I can't remember if it was a bucket hat or something, but I just remember a photo of him, and he looked red. He looked like he was having the day of his life. So
there was a lot of redness going on for sure.
Anyway, should we talk about Southern Bee, the wonderful Southern Bee?
Yeah, Southern Bee for sure, because like I say, there wasn't much movement, but still seeing Northants upset that Cheltenham Neptunes is a surprise, isn't it? Like, what 1 point game in that and finishing 34-33, really surprising, but obviously didn't have much of an impact in the end, although it probably impacted Cheltenham's final seeding to finish off, because they're the only ones joining the Cardiff Hurricanes out of this division this year. But was there any other results that stood out to you guys? No?
Casting my eyes down that board to see if anything catch my particular surprise.
Phoenix beating the Cheltenham Neptunes as well. Yeah, there's some surprising results across this whole entire slate, considering Neptunes are a playoff team. Yeah.
Well, how does that eventually leave us in the position then when we think about the Southern teams? I think I've got a bit of a scoop here in the background. So the Southern seedings look like across those two. We concatenate those two conferences now, with London Smoke obviously riding out on top. Cardiff Hurricanes with 2 losses coming in behind them. You've got the Devils, Reading Devils, on 3 losses, sitting in 3rd place. Neptunes, great, fantastic. 5 losses in the season, but still in that 4th place. And I think the Southern teams coming up, there's a lot of talent there. There's also a lot of capability to score, not least of all with the London teams that we were talking about a second ago. But Cardiff Hurricanes, if they're putting up 35.8 on average in a game across the season, and only conceding 16.6, that's a blowout team. You want to watch out if you're going to be drawing those guys. They don't give up much in defence. I think they possibly have the most stingy defence in the south. I think, if I'm correct on that one, not the best next point per game. That was obviously Smoke, but yeah, it does look like they have the stingiest defence in the south, and they have secured that national qualification. So I think there's a lot of things to worry about. If you are from the north, here's the segue. If you're from the north,
let's have a little look at the Highland then, because we should go straight into that and have a little look, because there's plenty more high quality teams that finished out their season in a very good way and set themselves up nicely. But I wonder how nervous Glasgow would have been in that first game against the Outlaws, which finished only 5-point difference. What do you reckon, Nick?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, something interesting. I mean, Hornets are great. I'm not going to take anything away from the Hornets. They're a great team, and if you want to hear about them, you can listen to any podcast, and people are going to tell you how awesome they are. The talent's immense. But you're absolutely right. Edinburgh gave them a game, and Edinburgh set out with some serious intent to try to get that upset right at the end of the season. Turns out on the day, the Hornets were actually a little bit down on the usual offense and defense. They seemed to just edge a little bit less in the scoring, and they gave up just a little bit more than normal. So I think there was a bit of pressure as a consequence of that first game. But that first game coming down to, 1 touchdown wins it if you get a last minute pick 6. That is a really great game of football, and fair play to Edinburgh. for standing up and putting up a great game. They're obviously secure. They're in the second place of that conference. They didn't lose any ground. They still go into obviously the playoffs. I think they're going to sit just outside the top four. They're going to sit in number 7th going into it, which is a good position. It gives you a decent start at the round of 8. But Glasgow Hornet, they held on. They held on, and
They did.
A great team
To the 1 seed as well.
Yeah, a great team isn't measured by how well they do on a good day. Okay, that's not how you measure a great team. It's how you endure on a tough day. You know, what does a tougher day look like? And if you can grind out and you can get the win like they've done, then you absolutely deserve to be wearing that undefeated crown, and fair play to them, you know.
But then you say, like, tough day, grind out wins, how they do on a bad day. They followed that up with 83 points.
Yeah.
That's my brain kind of explodes when I think about how in a flag game you managed to score 83 points. And it's not like it was a 0, it was 19. So the other team scored a few as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's mental. Like, you know, that's a score on every one of your own drives plus some of theirs, right?
Oh, if you want to average it, I mean, a 40-minute game, what you're talking about is you're talking about effectively 2 points and somewhere another per minute. That's just ludicrous.
Well, this is a team that finished scoring 848 points across their 16 games and only conceding 232 across those games. A differential of 600 and over 600. That's mental. But that they are going in as the team to beat, of clearly as the out and outright number 1 seed. What's that MPPG of nearly 39 points? That's just stupid. But another team that had a really good game, a good weekend, was the Broncos, because they were in and around these. There's always that threesome, isn't there? There's the Outlaws, the Broncos, and the Oil Cats, and they certainly in the last couple of years they've been in and around it. And now we find ourselves that they got to play each other in like some sort of like battle royale threesome, and they ended up and Broncos came out 2-0 out of that, which stepped them really well, and they ended up finishing just below the Outlaws in the end and pipping the Oil Cats. So another really good day for them.
Oh, they shot up 2 places as well in the national seedings on the day, which is no mean feat. You know, in terms of when you get to that back end of the season, that's great, fantastic, well done to them. You can't take anything away from it. I think the Outlaws, they're a good team though. I mean, let's just pause for a moment before we kind of run away too far on that, because they're looking at the other spread of games. Yeah, the Broncos put 40 on them, but that's a weird one, isn't it? How can you lose by 5 1 minute to the Hornets and then be turned over by a team called the Broncos, who you know, it's to me it shows just how close things can be and how a game can just run away from you in a string of tiny.
And they were back to back for them as well. So interestingly, they were back to back. So you put all your energy into the Hornets, and then you get the Broncos exactly the next game. Is that where that comes a cropper in the end, as you were saying?
And I think we said that in the podcast the other week, right? It happens so much where this whole flag thing, where you've got to get one game and then you're literally going from this game to that game, and you've got to, like, you know, because let's be honest, I bet you Edinburgh were really wrapped with that result against Glasgow. They might be gutted not to have thrown them over, but they probably walked away thinking that was a damn good effort. Oh no, wait, shit, now we've got to play another game. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Crap, I've got another game. And suddenly you get smacked in the mouth a few times by Grangemouth, who come out firing, and then suddenly it's gone, and you're like, that's what happens in flag, and that's what happens in this tournament style football, where all these games are back to back. And because flag is so quick, it's like Grangemouth score, I don't know how it went, but then you do a 4-0, and then Grangemouth have scored again, and suddenly, you know, literally 5 minutes in, you're chasing the game already. You know, it's really hard to get that back.
Broncos are class act. You know, Broncos are. Let's not. You know, they leapfrog on the day over the Aberdeen Oil Cats, and that's also quite reflective of that game that they played against each other, that 26-12 game where the Broncos come out over the Oil Cats. That flips the table, and that was the one movement in that table that switched things around. Obviously, it doesn't change a great deal in terms of that Oil Cats are still going to Manchester. there's no need for a hotel cancellation if we want to do that. But at the same time too, it was a great finish, and the Broncos, great team. We've seen them play a ton of times in the Winter League. We had the joy of playing them a little bit in the last year or two. They're a tough team. They're just a tough team. They just, no matter how many times you hit them, they'll just get back up. And so I think I'm glad to see Grangemouth do well. I think they deserve it. They got 3 teams. We talked about this last time about how that can sometimes dilute you a little bit, and it's difficult to say things. But I think they put their eggs in the right baskets this year. I think they've managed to reap the benefits of that.
I remember them having a strong presence at the playoffs last year as well, and certainly were a tough act to beat, and they'll be very difficult. And this division that you can, as you can hear from how we're analysing it, it's a tough division, and that's probably why they've got 4 going out of here to the playoffs. So that's the Hornets obviously sitting there in 1 seed, and then Outlaws, Broncos and Oil Cats will be joining them. So there'll be a strong Scottish presence at the playoffs as usual. Let's have a little look at the counterpart in the north, because the Titans hosted the final game day, and they were joined by everyone, obviously. But in the end, there was some movement here, wasn't there? Because I think there will be some disappointments across here for sure, some disappointing results. But in the end, the Titans come out champs. Crows will be following them. But some people will be missing out for those playoffs. And Nick, what stands out to you? Because you probably know some of these.
Yeah, no, well, I know the Titans and the Crows boys pretty well. And that, to me, was always going to be the game that I was interested in most of all.
Finale.
Were the Crows going to do it twice? Were Manchester going to overcome? Or Titans going to overcome? In the end, the Titans did the job and very well indeed. Congratulations to them. 2 points. What a game that must have been. What a defensive that game must have been, because these are both teams that are well capable of putting points on you. So I think to see both those defenses stand up on the day must have been a great game to be there and experience. I think in the mix of things, there are some unfortunate positions that people have found themselves at the end of the year. It's a tough end of the year for the Hawks. Things haven't finished particularly well in terms of how they would have wanted to grind out. Certainly against the Crows, that was a very difficult game for them, and then the draw against Sheffield really kind of hurt them too. But the Blackhawks are a great team. They're going to sit in the Prem, I think, next year. They're going to be a fantastic force within that. They've got quality in there. I mean, you take a look at some of the Blackhawks players. They're very good friends of ours, being only 60 miles away. Across the wrong end of the wall.
The wrong end, yeah.
I think we're focusing them for a friendly game on the bank holiday weekend to see how things go. It's sad for them. It is, at the end of the day, to see a team drop down 2 positions, kind of maybe had some hopes in the day coming in, thinking they could make a push on for the finals. But for me, I think this table finished in a kind of fair way. There was a flip, obviously, with the Blackhawks and Scorpions in the last run of things that saw the Blackhawks finishing in 4th place within the conference, the Scorpions ahead of them. But the real story that was always going to be at the top of the table. It was always going to be down to the Titans and the Crows. That is a rivalry. I mean, I used to be involved with the Titans organisation. I know there's a lot of salt between those two teams. They're friends and all off the pitch, but there's no part of friendship when they play against each other. That is just who owns this city, and for the Titans to come out on top of that, congratulations. It's not just a win against another team; it's a win against the Crows, and that will mean as much the Titans as any team that they'll play. But
they weren't separated across 2 games, though. Interesting. I was just looking back to see how they got on, and it was 15-13 here, and it's 27-25 the other way around earlier on in the season. So they 1-1 tied on points, so can't be separated. And as you've rightly alluded to, that happens again next year as well, doesn't it? When they both join each other in the National League, which is just
the National League is going to be pretty awesome, and looking forward to that. I mean, at the end of the day, the difference being in the overall table of things and the seedings, obviously Titans are going to finish in 4th nationally, and I think the Crows are going to finish in 6th. Still very tight, only Reading slotting in between the two. Gosh, let's see how things pan out for them next year. But that would have been the game of the day, beyond a doubt. Shall we
100%.
take a moment though to tip our caps to the Salford Scorpions against Sheffield? Great teams, both of them. That must have been a fantastic game of football. That looks like it went right down to 3 points. At the end, it must have been a close one, 31-28. Salford won out in that. Well done to Salford. They did manage to leapfrog a position in the table as a consequence of that. Good finish for them, strong finish, third place in the conference, and definitely lots and lots of promising signs. So that's all I take from. That's all I take from it. Titans beating Wigan. Yeah, that's tough on Wigan. Wigan have had a tough year. They've had 14 losses, 2 wins, but they are a good team. And let's see how things pan out for them. I think next year they'll probably find themselves in the Prem. In fact, they will find themselves in that Prem table. I think they'll find themselves more at home with the teams around them. They'll have a good season. They'll be a tough team to play against. And if I can use a pun, there'll be some people eating humble pie. If you're from the south of England, there's a thing called pie eaters.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone south of maybe like Stokes going, what?
Yeah. Trust me, it's a thing. Okay.
Totally. But just to finalize this division here, so that it'll be Titans and Crows, the only two going on to the playoffs, and two very worthy. The Crows finishing second with a 75% win ratio. That's not too shabby, is it really? And to give us a quick visual, having a little look at what that means to the playoffs, we bring up a nice little bracket that our colleague Stuart has designed, and as you can see there, it brings about some very tasty matchups, which we will preview leading up to the finals on the 13th of September. But no, nonetheless, there it is. Hornets, Titans, Smoke, and Hurricanes sit there in the quarterfinals, waiting for the winners to come onto them, which depends on what seeds come out of there. But just to remind everybody as well that this year is the first year where they've done North versus South in the wild card, which didn't happen last year, did it? I think this is the first year where they've done that, and that brings some amazing matchups. Broncos versus Neptunes, Devils versus Oil Cats, Crows versus Fire, and then Outlaws versus Sharks. There's some unbelievable matchups, which we will get into in a bit more detail nearer the time, I'm sure. But bring it on, eh?
Absolutely.
Isn't that just awesome?
Yeah, but
Go on.
I'll say this is where we talked about in the last podcast, where we all run around going, which game are we going to watch? We can't watch all of the games. 100%. There's too much going on. All of those games.
Who do you want to face? Who do you want to face in those games? I mean, in all honesty, who really do you want to face? And even if you win that game, okay, Kiwi, then who's waiting for you on the other side of the wall?
Oh, wow, that's terrifying in itself, right?
London Smoke, Glasgow Hornets, the Titans. It's like, you don't want to be there. That's just. I mean, you do want to be there. Believe me, you want to be there. But you're right. You're absolutely right, Kiwi. You're bang on.
I think the hardest things about these playoffs, and it's probably more so on the Saturday. I'm interested to know what's happening in the YFFL as well, which happens at the same time, and you're like trying to pick out the future stars of tomorrow, and then this is happening at the same time, and you're like craning your neck to try and see more than one or two games at a time, and that's the fun of a flag final day. So if you haven't been to a flag final day, make sure you get there.
Colossal mid-table movements in the final membership this year. Everything in the middle bracket, every single team in the middle bracket, underneath the top four and above the teams at the bottom, every single team shifted a position in the last game. Everyone, nobody stayed in the same place. We had the Devils up 1, we had the Crows up 1, we had Outlaws down 2, we had Broncos up 2, we had Neptunes down 1, we had Oil Cats down 1, we had Sharks up 2, we had Fire down 1, and then Rebels, as we said before, dropping down 1. I mean, that is a battle, a bloodbath. That's
absolutely. That's some amazing stuff that went on in the final game day. And that's Prem pretty much rounded up, and we will see what happens on that Saturday. And who comes out as as national champs. So, and we'll talk about favourites and over-unders, which I try and get for finals from you guys when we get nearer there, and see how badly we can do at it. We certainly got a lot of comments in the finals last time, didn't we, about some dreadful predictions that we did.
Aaron.
Sorry, Aaron. If you're listening, I'm sure you are.
He can probably hear me, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Aaron!
His spider senses is going off. Right, so let's have a little look at Division 1. And as is new in fashion, let's start in the south. So let's go to the southeast, where the Buckinghamshire Wolfpack hosted a relatively shortened game day, unfortunately, because the Surrey Stingers didn't make this game day, which meant that London Rebels B, Kent Exiles, and the Wolfpack were down a game. But still plenty to talk about. Still, I don't think there was a lot of shaking in this division in particular. But Nick, take us through what you kind of saw in this division.
The remarkable thing about the Div 1 table is pretty much nothing changed at the conference level. So there was no changes when we look at the southwest, the south central. There was a change in the east, but more or less the south ended in the conference level the way you expected then. But that doesn't mean that the games didn't affect seedings, and they did affect seedings quite significantly also, with some interesting things as we go through these groups to talk about. Sadly, nobody wants to see a walkover game, especially not in the last game day of the year, because that has significant impact on how things are panning out for everyone else. But let's stay true to the respect that's due to the VPP. They did business. They're going to be in Manchester. They're 100% going to have their focus on trying to knock off some of those teams ahead of them. I think they managed to squeeze their way into 5th position in the overall seeding in the end. Arguably, a team that should be in the top 4. They're just a quality outfit. Nobody really wants to play them. Somebody's going to have to face them as a team coming through from the round of 8. Nobody really wants that. Let's take a look at what they did. 70-13 against Buckinghamshire. That's a way to end the season, isn't it? And it's just like... everyone else. It's just like that. It's just like, sure you've got there,
And that's the other team. Yes, that Buckinghamshire have had a tough run, but that they're a good team, and we talked about the Hornets before, and they're 80-something, 70 is still a huge scoring flag. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's a lot of points, and particularly at the end of an afternoon, you tend to see the Hornets did it too, but you tend to see high scoring games early in the day, and then as the day endures, we all get more tired and things just become a bit more slowed down. But that's finishing on fire. That's a great statement win at the end of the day. Credit to Buckinghamshire Wolfpack. They put up a season. They had a tough day. They lost 13-70 to the Panthers. They obviously lost 12-66 to the Buckinghamshire Wolves. Wolves obviously looking outstanding there, and also winning their game crucially against the Kent Exiles by 2 points. That must have been a heck of a game, coming down to 2 points, particularly with so much to play for. Big movers though in that group are Victoria Park. They're the team to watch. If you're looking for a team to watch in Manchester, I think that's a great place to start. In fact, it means that they'll be there pretty early. So let's see how that one pans out. That's it for me on that one, Andy, to be honest with you.
And I think you mentioned this in the last podcast that to be able to qualify for the playoffs, the lowest ranked team that I've got here in front of me is the Northants Titans White with a 66.7% win percentage. So you've got to win 2 out of 3 to qualify for the playoffs in Division 1. It's difficult. It's a really hard division to get out of, and certainly to get into that playoffs to come away with any hope of having a high seeding. And there's some good teams that won't be making it for that reason as well.
There's one very good team that I think we're going to come on to shortly. As a consequence, Northants Titans Whites finishing there. Unbelievably, the Gwent Gators dropped out of the play. You think, how did that happen? I mean,
let's go there now.
I mean, I had them on my slate of teams that I wanted to try to avoid at all costs in the finals day, and voila! It's like unbelievable. I mean, that to me is just that's phenomenal. That's right there. Gwent is a fantastic team. So Gwent not going to the playoffs, well, that's quite a remarkable change of things. So how did that happen? Well, you can see there was a walkover, obviously, but let's not sally ourselves with talking about that too much for just now. 2-point loss to Exeter, and that is going to be something you're going to stew over for 6 months. That's a game that you're gonna think long and hard about. Credit to Exeter, they shot up 3 places in the seeding at the end of this game day. Really strong finish for them. But what a game! I mean, what a heartbreaking game too for Gwent to have to experience. I think that was the one that kind of was the nail on the coffin's head for them. Other games that went on in there, and please, Kiwi, talk over me, otherwise I just won't shut up. The Storm have found themselves again. I have them on my list as, if I was to give it, if we do this NFL style, we were to kind of, who did you think was really scary good? Storm have found the way again. They had a little flip. Cardiff Storm. If you are facing Cardiff Storm in Manchester, you best have an extra cup of coffee, because they are turning up. And they've just found an extra layer right now of awesomeness that they're going to kick on with. So yeah, Cardiff Storm, great, 81-6. That's another one of those crazy scores. Yeah, go on, Key.
I was going to say, what I found interesting is also Exeter getting that probably quite important win over Keesham as well, Kings. We talked about them in the last podcast and how good they've been, and they were right on that cusp of making playoffs as well. And obviously what Exeter have done is gone out and got business done. They've beaten Gwent and they've beaten Keesham, those 2 teams that were sitting just behind them on the table, to get them into that playoff position. So, but they were both close games, right? Like neither of them were, complete walks in the park. So
well, the maths was always going to go against this division because they were playing less games. So they were playing 14 games this year, this division. So a loss was going to be a much more significant percentage deduction from your final win percentage, didn't it? So, not picking up a loss there. So although they finish 11-3 and 78.6, I don't want to do the maths on screen and make myself look stupid, but an extra loss in that column probably looks a lot worse than what it could have done. And to your point around Exeter coming away and doing what they need to do, feels like they're always taking wins off each other. Exeter, Gwent, Cardiff Bay like to upset some people sometimes as well, don't they? And that sort of trio always take wins off each other, either unexpectedly or they're just so close to each other in terms of their capabilities that you get that.
I think that's where we were saying last time, and yes, Keesham, you've missed out, but you were right in the mix of those teams this season, and that shows massive, where you've come onto as a team, as a program, that you're, we often talk about those 3 teams, but Keesham they were right up there as well up until the last game day. So again, massive building for next year if you can keep that kind of squad together, right?
Yes, 100%.
My new favorite team. I mean, not my new favorite team. Colin, I love you. You're awesome. But my new favorite team, following an Instagram post this week, are the Cardiff Coyotes. If you have not seen their Instagram page, go to their Instagram page. It is like if all that. They've got the how our season ended, and it is, guys. Please tell me you're listening to this podcast, okay? I'm your biggest fan, second biggest fan. So
I will be going to look.
But that's absolutely awesome. But Exeter Falcons, the guy down there called Tom Magna Parson, who's playing in their backfield, the defensive setup, who's brilliant. He, I think, was number 3 on interceptions on the year, and he was number 1 in pick sixes, if my stat checks are correct off Playways. They have got a real talent there by the looks of it. I'm doing a little bit of scouting there. But it's just like he's definitely great. They're a good team. Let's see how they do. Those wins in that day, massively important. Gwent, heartbreak for you. I'm certain that you'll be back to give people a bloody nose next year. That's for sure. Cardiff Coyote, you won the internet this week. You just won it.
Brilliant. I will be going to look after this recording for sure.
If you think it's lame, then
amazing.
by all means send me a text afterwards and just go, that was
Oh, well, don't worry. We will call. I'll put it in a disclaimer of the text of this podcast. We apologise for the lame referral.
Building Classic. We take no responsibility for recommendations Nick has to make from the show. Yeah,
100%.
Great. Okay.
But to wrap up the East and the West before we move on to Central, so for the East we've got VPP and Wolves joining the VPP in the playoffs in this division that we're about to move away from. Cardiff Storm, congratulations on your championship there. First time I'm asking. That's got to be mentioned in all of this, and they'll be joined by Exeter in the playoffs. Let's have a little look at the Central then. Because Central, for those of you who are losing track, we've kind of bumped over to the West because we wanted to talk about them. But Central was the cross-conference with the East, wasn't it? West were kind of by themselves there. And the Salisbury City Marauders hosted this. And I touched upon it earlier, but the Salisbury City, the Chichester Shark family, they all had a fantastic weekend, and I think that's probably one of the headlines that I'm sure you're going to touch on here, Nick, when the Tiger Sharks did.
Hey, Tiger Sharks
dangerous things.
Yeah, they climbed in the national seeding by a spot there, third place. They're a team you want to watch out for. They upped their average points on offense. They finished out strong. Great. I mean, just a great weekend for Chichester. There must have been a lot of KFC consumed if they celebrate class. But I think this whole mix up here with various different teams in here, like Red Diablos and all, it makes it particularly fruity. There's some really great football to consume here, and some of these results are maybe unsuggestive of the talent there. We'll take a look at this one. Let's take a look at Chichester Marco Sharks against Diablo, where they won out 27-18. I'm not sure how that may have influenced the finishing position. I'm just checking my notes for Diablos, because they dropped down. They literally dropped 3 points in the seeding. They had a bit of a bump down in the end. However, rookie team, as you said before about Cardiff Storm, your hats off them. We've got, in fact, 4 rookie teams that are going to be represented in Division 1 finals day. Reading, Northants, Norwich lads, which we will come on to, I'm absolutely sure, because you can't not talk about them, and Cardiff Storm. So, a tough finish. They look like they had a wee bit of a panic in the final stretch, but they finished strong enough to make sure they're going to Manchester.
100%. They've not only done that, but they've bumped that seeding, as you mentioned. So not only are they champions, so they'll be in that top 6 anyway, but they've actually got themselves into the quarterfinals. So they sit out two rounds for them, isn't it? Which is just, that's a luxury, isn't it? For some, I know there's some people out there that think that actually it's rusty, and you'd rather be in that round of 8, have a warm up, get to the quarterfinals. But I'm sure if you manage it properly, having 2 games off is better than playing 2 games for sure before you get into the quarterfinals. Yeah,
you also get a parking space. I mean, we're talking about Manchester City car park here, which is pretty small. It's not too small, but like at the end of the day, when you've got all these teams descend again, and one is big, and there's a lot of people turning up. There's a lot of people bringing a lot of people with them. You know, you're going to be a real battle for those 50 or 60 parking spaces right there.
Well, half of us end up parked down the road somewhere, and then we'll wait until the end of the day when we can sneak into the car park once half the teams have gone.
At the end of the Premier's Day, I'm going to make like a German tourist, and I'm going to just put down towels over parking space.
Yeah, totally.
I was parked there. I'm coming back tomorrow. That's my space.
Next spot. Yeah.
But no, pretty cool. To be honest with you, that's been a great conference this year, Southern Central. And I think the finishing positions didn't really. I don't think that actually changed anything within the conference on the day. As you expect, Chichester finishing on top, Reading in second place, Salisbury third. However, it did, as I said before, have a rather dramatic effect on those positions, those seedings that we're going to see in Manchester, which will come on to, I'm sure, in the seeding slide.
100%. And I'm sure, just to round off this, Isle of Wight will be happy with their first season. Solent Red Storm being having a a good first season as well. It's great to see the league expanding with all these new teams, and certainly the second teams within these really, really established programs. And like you say, we'll talk about it in a bit more detail. But you mentioned some of the rookie teams that are making it to the playoffs. Well, there's 1, 2, 3 of them that are champs, which is just incredible. I don't remember a Tiger Sharks from last year, so please correct me if there was a Chichester B last year, but I don't remember it. So
I can't remember one. No.
So 3 rookie teams being champs is rather impressive. Making our way up the M6 or the M1, whichever side that you want to land on. Let's go to the Midlands, shall we? Disappear halfway up and have a little look, because we had a massive game day. Everybody descended on Leicester Huntsman for a monster game day there. So it's across 2 slides, so bear with us. They're in running order, so maybe we pick it up in chronological potentially, but happy to jump on where you think we need to go. But in the end, it all boiled down to what was going to happen between Norwich and Leicester, and we got the answer in the end, didn't we?
I'm trying to shut up once. Kiwi, I'm trying to shut up for once. I'm trying to yield. we have people
yield the power.
No, we have people who listen to this podcast are like, I don't like that wrestling guy. Come on, Kiwi. Come on, give us something. This guy's just, I just killed my battery over nothing. Come on.
Well, I was just going to say, as Andy said, obviously that Norwich Leicester game was to decide those kind of, because I don't think before this we had a champion, right? It was who was going to be champion going in that top seed. Obviously, it's always tough going in knowing that not only, I think they knew they'd qualified, but obviously you want a championship as well. So, full credit to Norwich there coming out on top and securing their division championship. And also, I think this is the division we've got the most teams coming out of, right? We've got 4 coming out of here, which is huge.
Yeah.
Just shows you how tough this division actually was, that we've got, even coming out of, you've got a Norwich on a 0.889, Leicester also on a 0.889, but with the head-to-head separating them only. Yeah. And then, you still got 2 more teams coming out of here as well, with the least of which is still a 0.667. So
I think there was a very, very much a split in this division. So you'd almost think, well, obviously there would be more teams coming out of a 10-team division, but actually they all have to get to that 67% qualification mark anyway, which we all know is like a benchmark anyway. But we've actually had that split where Longhorns, Black Down, there's a divide there, isn't there? And I think we did see that in this game day as well. But head-to-head splitting Norwich and Leicester is quite tasty, isn't it? Because they were even only separated by 1.5 points in their MPPG as well, which is delightful to see. And if we get to see these guys again against each other next year in the Prem, if I think they do get there based on their seedings, then that's just awesome to think, isn't it?
The Titan Whites game hurt Norwich, and I know that we're not talking about, it's not a game they won here, but Norwich Nomads on the day they dropped 4 seeds. They went from being number 2 seed in the country going into that game day, and then that, I think it was just, for me, it's got to be the amount of points they gave up in defense in that game that tamper with that standing. I mean, but do not get me wrong, right? This is a team you do not want to play. You've got the second most effective quarterback in Division 1 in Alistair Munro. He put up 111 touchdown passes this year. Okay, that's a lot of touchdown passes. Okay, that's an effective team. Yes, you could argue 43 of them went to Sam Barnett. Barrett is his absolute favourite target. There's no doubt about that. Nevertheless, though, that is incredible production. But somehow, despite this fantastic turnout, despite a great game day, despite winning your conference, and this for a rookie team too, fantastic, all of that changes just because of you give up a bit in defense, and suddenly you have that kind of pinch there. Well, that's tough. And that final loss that they had against the Honey Badgers, your favorite,
Honey Badgers,
That was my next point. Was also well done to the Honey Badgers on getting that win that last game.
That was the stinger, and that cost a whole lot of spots. You know, that suddenly saw jumping above them. The VPP went above them. It saw Storm rising a spot up as well. It saw the Chichester Sharks cemented in there, but the big beneficiaries in Scotland being Renfrewshire, which we established last time as a place west of Glasgow called Paisley, who, and I think right, because they are an incredibly good team, finished in the number 2 seed. Norwich, though, the Nomads, should I say, are a team you don't want to play. You just don't want to play that team. No. They are an extremely good team. They're going to cause a lot of trouble at finals. I can't remember off the top of my head what they're looking like in terms of the points they put up, but I remember it was something.
850.
856 points that team can put on you. Wow. I mean,
we'll just put their second best in the division behind some border city team.
But the best when it comes to net points per game, the best function net points per game, 31.7. They're a very, very good team. Big win for the Badgers. Big win for the.
Well, that's the thing, right? What that shows is that yes, Norwich, amazing team, amazing stats, but any of these teams on a good day, like the Honey Badgers, can get up, give you problems, and they've proven that by getting that win. You know, it just shows you that this division in general, particularly those top probably 3 teams, is yes, you've got Norwich firmly on top, but you know, Honey Badgers gave them a bloody nose, beat them, just showing you that any team is beatable on the day, and all of these teams are scary prospects. I'm sure you would agree, Nick, probably thinking about what's going to happen on your final.
Oh yeah. I mean, and this is a team that's going to Norwich, Victoria Panthers, right, and Norwich Nomads. Assuming that they win their round of 8, which they may or may not, okay, but assuming that they win their round of 8, if you're one of the top 4 seeds, you've got to face one of those guys. It's your first game. That's your wake-up call. No thank you. Just no thank you. Nobody wants to face Alistair Monroe first thing in the morning in Manchester when he's put up 111 touchdown passes in the season. Your safeties. I mean, I'm talking about an extra cup of coffee. I'm talking about a shot of espresso in it. Let's just put an extra bit of sugar in, and then what the heck, you know? Like, because they are going to be. Yeah, these guys are going to be. They are absolutely in the conversation for who's going to win this whole thing this year. And I don't think we can take our eyes off them. I think they slip up in the game day. Great game by the Honey Badgers to do them over, especially 3-48. What a game of football! I mean, you got your money's worth there, right?
My favourite kind, offensive football games.
Yeah, that's great. But they are a team who are going to be in the conversation when it comes to finals. They are, and if they do take an unfortunate turn in the early stages, you best believe they're going home with the plate, in my opinion, as a minimum. And I'll put that on the record right now, my friends from Norwich. You're extremely.
You know, and this division has the pedigree, right? Because as we said in the last podcast, the Honey Badgers did actually come away with the plate last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, these teams in this division have that pedigree as well.
That's your third place team. You know.
Yeah, they put the division on notice, haven't they? That, you know, we might be starting off in the wild card round, but, you know, we can go and beat one of the best teams in the country, certainly in Division 1 at least. And so, you know, we'll talk about who they've got in the wild card round in a second, but that's going to be a tough matchup for whoever that is, right?
For sure. This was only Conference 2 where anything changed in the table in Div 1 on the final, in the conference level table, where we saw the South Yorkshire Roosters, come on, Rudy, making a jump over and the Nottingham Bears. Unfortunate for the Bears. I mean, it was, at the end of the day, it doesn't really mess things up too much in the greater scheme of things, but really congratulations to those guys. Great work. Well, everybody loves you anyway. Can we get a discount on our next kit? Thanks very much.
I mean, I'm happy to host some merch.
I'm still waiting on my Honey Badgers merch. I don't know if they listen to the podcast, but
I feel like talking about the Honey Badgers for a couple of
the love that I give the Honey Badgers. You'd think I'd have got a t-shirt by now.
You would think.
If you, please bring me one to finals day.
Yeah,
We will steal you.
100%.
We'll just go into a bag. It's like,
Definitely.
we do not go this, right? But yeah, okay.
So Nomads, Huntsmen, who were tied there, but they obviously Nomads take the head-to-head and they go into that top tier of the playoff seedings, into the top 6, and they're joined by the Honey Badgers and the Titans White. So Titans White, who were joining them last seed in the playoffs, but with a 66.7% win percentage, which is just incredible, isn't it? Let's move on then. So let's take a trip north. I'm taking a little bit of a leapfrog north of the border to start off with, and we'll go into usual order and have a little look at what happened up in the Highlands. So, memory serves, I don't think there was a lot to kind of sort out here. Maybe some seedings in the final game day, obviously across the nation. But Nick, take us through what you saw here, because did you have any sort of KFC stops on the way with some of these guys after this game day?
We didn't, because so we were celebrating that night in Carlisle, which I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it really can. There's a place called Botchagate. You don't want to go there after 9 o'clock, right? But if you get the good, it's pretty good fun. So we didn't stop at KFC, so we didn't get a chance to get the lowdown off anyone on what was happening. However, hats off to Renfrewshire Raptors. They're just a class team. They're just a good team. They, in my humble opinion, certainly deserve a very high seeding on finals day. They're a team, similarly to the others we've discussed, that you really don't want to play against. They're absolutely ruthless. They'll take advantage of every opportunity they've got, and they did on the day. They just got on with business. They turned up. They put 45-7 on the Glasgow Bees, which, in all fairness, very good team. It's the child team of the Hornets. So they've got some great coaching. They've got some great facilities, good organisation. Very, very, very well run. There's some people in the back office there, like Youngie, who know an awful lot about football. But there you go. Renfrewshire Raptors turned up, did the job. They did the same against Moray as well, 40-12. Great stuff. For me, that kind of was a fitting end to what has been a very strong season for them. However, let's also take a few moments here to give respect where it's due to Grangemouth. Mustangs, so they're third of their 3 teams. So 2 of them are above. Below, yeah, the third, yeah, apparently, yeah, allegedly. Although
150 points on the day. Oh,
yeah. Although they didn't look like a third of a 3, that's for sure. And I'm pretty sure Mustangs are bigger than Colts. So they, in the greater scheme of biology, simply. So great finish for them. They've done what they need to. The 62-0 though, what a statement win. Moray's a good team, guys. If you're looking at 6-2-0 against Moray, you're thinking, who are Moray? That's a very good team. And that's a very, very, very strong win.
Grand team last year.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from those guys. So 62-0, great win. Moray obviously showed that when they played Aberdeen, put 52-26 against them, that they're no slouches. But yeah, on the day, it was always going to be a crowning day for me, for Renfrewshire Raptors. They were in a strong position. They weren't, they dropped a game this year. I didn't feel that they were going to get caught though, and I know this is unfair maybe on the Mustangs because they only dropped 2 games this year, but I think they probably agree with me too. Renfrewshire's that deserved to be their conference this year. Hotly contested, obviously, nevertheless, but they were going to do it. It was a 2-horse race. Excuse the pun. You got Mustangs.
I was waiting for that.
A 5-game gap, a 5-loss gap until you get to third place, which was the Moray Distillers, who we just said a second ago are no slouches. The third in the conference. They are not a bad team. But those 2, they're the ones you want to talk about. Yeah. Best game of the day, though, Edinburgh Gunslingers, Aberdeen Silvercats. 13.
Yes, that's my type of game. That's 1 point squeaky bum time. I love those type of games. The jeopardy inside that.
That's a game, and I think they also, they're very closely tied in the table. There you got, I think it's 13 and 14 losses on paper. Obviously, there was more games played this year by the Silvercats. But that's a close game of football. I think they both had negative differences, but again, only a difference of 32 points across the whole season. Very tight teams, very tight finish team. The two teams, great little game of football. Nice conference. Thanks very much. And sadly, when we're on that note, we're talking at the bottom of the table. Obviously, in case people didn't know, Clyde weren't able to win the season, and that consequently kind of capped the football that we were up there a little bit.
Second season running, if memory serves, as well, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see whether they're back next year. But they're two class acts, aren't they, that are going to be a real tough out for anybody. A 15-1 team, a 14-2 team, point differentials close to 500 and 400 there, respectively. Yeah, absolutely. Deservedly there. Don't belong in Division 1 effectively. And, the Mustangs, 150 to 32 point differential on one game day. I think they showed up to prove a point, didn't they? So let's have...
The thing about that, and we talk about the percentages, obviously, if you win your conference, it gives you an advantage seeding table. But when you take a look at Manchester Titan Bees, who finished out on a 78.9 win in 7th place, Grangemouth Mustangs go in as the 9th seed. However, they were an 87.5%. So actually,
yes,
sometimes the seeding can be a little bit unfair if you see it that way. It depends how good your conference is or isn't.
Yeah.
But, Mustangs and the Raptors are absolutely killer teams. They are teams you don't want to wake up and see in Manchester.
Or wait for you 2 rounds down the line as well in some situations as well. Jesus. That'll be insane, won't it? I think you might know about this division that's coming up, because congratulations, coach. You were obviously confirmed champs following this game day, if memory serves. I can't remember whether you already were, but certainly at 19-0, you finished out, and you did it in style across this game day. What don't you like about the Manchester Ravens to put 75-0 on them in the first game?
No, it was nothing. It was nothing like that.
I jest.
It was nothing to do with the fact that last year in the plate semi-final they ruined our season in the rain. It was nothing to do with the fact that they posted that on social media a whole bunch of times. It was nothing to do with the fact that I used to play with the Titans. There's no grudges there. No, genuinely, it's a great team. Really, really cool organisation, lovely people. That win for us was for us. It was for us. Let's just put this in context, right? Carlisle's had American football over a span of 37 years, okay? We have been pretty much the worst team at contact and whatever down those years. We went through seasons of 0 and 10. We went through seasons of being ridiculed and laughed at by so many teams. We really, ground out. 2010 was one of the worst years you ever saw a contact team ever taking a beating, but we turned up at every single game and we took the beating and we took the beating and we took the beating. So when we got this close to finishing this thing undefeated, the team were just so hyped and so locked in. There was, I honestly, when players were coming off the pitch, and even 75-0, when we were way up in the score sheet, you'd ask them what's the score and they'd be like, no, coach. No, coach. Every single drive was a no drive. So it was nothing personal whatsoever, other than just, it was a release of a lot of pent-up energy over many years. But Manchester, sorry to do that to you guys. There was nothing personal on that at all. There was a few unfortunate breaks in the game. Really early on, our captain, Dylan, took the ball almost for a pick six on their first pass or their second pass of the game, and it just set a tempo, and the guys just rose it throughout. Brandon, the QB, finished top of the league, I think 114 passing touchdowns. So, yeah, no, it was nothing. It wasn't. This is. I'm not saying there's teams I don't want to play. There's 3 or 4 teams that are below us in the seeding that we really, really don't want to play. This was just a personal thing for us, guys. We suffered a lot for a long time, and this was just our we're finishing this thing 19 and we're just finishing at 19-0. Even if we have one leg and 0 toes by the end of it, we're finishing this thing
19-0 with 883 points scored and 302 against an MPPG of 13.5, a point differential of 580. That's a really impressive regular season, however you badge it, coach. But nonetheless, you still come away with the number 1 seed going into playoffs, and you're sitting pretty there, aren't you? But take us through the rest if you don't mind, because you were obviously there as well. Unless Kiwi, you've got something to jump in on.
No, I was just going to say, for me, we talked before, obviously congratulations on an impressive season, but what we were excited to see leading into this was whether West Lancs and Warrington would end up with this fixture that they had to play against each other, right? And West Lancs, credit to them, absolutely came out and smashed that fixture and beat Warrington 46-26. Because these teams have been close, we knew that this game was going to be important for those seedings. Obviously, I know quite a few of the West Lancs guys and their associated partners who play with us at the Huskies. So I just wanted to mention, obviously, them coming out and getting business done, right, and coming away with those wins. I think they came away with all wins on the day, actually.
They were great in the day.
So,
They were great in the day. West Lancs, that was so important to the Warrington game. Warrington didn't turn up with the full complement. We've said this before. It's the team you face on any given Sunday. It's not, it's not like the Prem or like professional level of sports when you have things more locked in. However, West Lancashire turned up. They did the job. Nick and Andy, full credit to them. They finished it with a great deal of focus. On the day, I have to say, Lancashire Bombers. It's really tough, right? By the way, guys, just watch this team. Just watch this team over the next few years. That they have been around a little bit. They've got some young players. They're developing a fantastic program there. I am going to put my neck right out here, and I'm going to say that they could win that conference next year, assuming that maybe West Lancashire move up, assuming some things. But the Bombers they finished strong with a 60-32 against Salford Scorpions. Great team, the Bombers. I know they lost the Serps in the day, but the Serps were locked in. The Serps, it wasn't just about Warrington. It was about seeding. It was about placement. It was making sure they had their hat on a stand for finals day, and they did that. They turned up. They took care of business. They were great. Wirral Vikings, tough finish for them. Wirral Vikings, really good team. Warrington, as I say, not the full complement. I don't think Wirral played the best football that day. We've played some amazing football. I don't know if that was their best game to lose 21-34 to Warrington on the day. I would have expected more from them. I'm sure they would have too. But they turned that around when they played Salford and they put up 46-24 against them. They found their game there. Horrible day for the Ravens. Apologies, as I say, 5. But then the Bombers put a 53 burger on them as well. That's a really tough one. So it kind of finished, in all fairness, the way that we'd assumed it was going to finish. I always thought the Serps were going to be the second team in that conference. They were the team that certainly throughout the course of the season were turning up, taking care of business, they were getting things done. We've got a really intense rivalry against them that's gone for a couple of years now. It's turned into a great bench.
I was going to say, it was closer last year as well, wasn't it? There was some tossing and turning last year, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
no, but they're a good team. That's a great conference, by the way. In all credit to the teams in the conference who didn't do as well as it looks like they did in paper, like Salford. Salford are a great team. I mean, in the last game day, Salford went toe-to-toe with the Manchester Titans Bees, who are, one of the top teams in Division 1 in the country. And Salford gave them a real game of football. So credit to Salford. Somehow finishing at the bottom of that table seems pretty unfair on them. They put on a great game day, by the way. Thanks a lot, guys. Very well organised, really professional, lovely atmosphere, really nice people. And we were in Salford, nothing got stolen. Remarkable.
Where was it? Where is it hosted?
Next to Media City. It's kind of Salford with a small S. It's orange, which can be a bit salty, but at the end of the day, too, if you look across the road, you're about a mile away from the BBC studio. So, it's kind of
brilliant.
It was pretty Salford, and that was
very good.
It was a humid day, and the teams played particularly well. But I'm not talking about ourselves because I don't like doing that.
But bar the Midlands, the most teams are coming out of this division, to your point. So you've got the Centurions, the Serps, and the Revs that are joining you guys in the playoffs, and it's a very tough division. And Warrington, being the third in that group, is finishing with 68%. So it's obviously been a tough slog, and probably more to the point how impressive for me your 19-0 is, and. You'll know this other team really well through cross conference. There's these other teams as well, where we have lots of names. when writing this graphic, you just have names galore, don't you? And quite long names, and there's a lot of letters. But nonetheless, we came out with a champ in the end, and it'll be the Titans Bees that will make it to the playoffs out of this division. And after a solid game day for them as well.
Yeah, the Titans Bees played great, but this is the harshest of all the conferences in the UK. Okay, and I say that with hoping that people listening to this might check out the tables here. But the second place team in this is not going to the playoffs. Okay, just as well. And they put up a great season. I mean, they put up a great season. They had Kyle down there leading tackles, 123 tackles in a season that guy made. I mean, how much more can you do to try?
Well, the team that got in ahead of them had a 0.667, and they have a 0.658, right? Like that's brutal. Like that's less than a percent.
It's a draw. It's less than a draw.
Yeah,
because I think they played one more game than North and White, so it's less than a draw that they missed out on.
Really tough.
Yeah.
Hats off to the West Yorkshire Warthogs. You put in a great season. It's a heartbreaking finish. It is a heartbreaking finish. But Manchester Titans, they steadied the ship. I don't know if they started off necessarily the way they would have wanted them at the start of the season, but as the season progressed, they kept on grinding out the wins. As I mentioned before, Salford gave them a scary game the last game day before, but they just kept on grinding out. And they got there in the end. And in all fairness, it's not a team to look down your nose at either, because there's a whole bunch of talent there. They train with the Titans Prem team. It's a great organisation. And let's not also neglect to mention that the Tridents, who I thought were going to make a real last-minute run at it, they jumped seeds in the national tables on the final game day, but obviously fell short of playoff. Well done the Bees. Heartbreaking Warhogs. Most heartbreaking of all, Calderdale Locomotives, my favourite team, no doubt about it. Actually, we talk about 19-0. They were the toughest game we had this year. And I mean that with all of the respect to all of the other teams in those two conferences. They were the toughest game we had this year. We eked out a 3-point win over them. We don't. The guys gave us a game of football. They turned up, and they've got the leader in safeties, James Evans. I will mention you by name this time because you mentioned the podcast last time that I had only alluded to James Evans on Locomotives, who led Division 1 in safeties. Brilliant team, actually brilliant team. The position does them no justice at all. The results do them no justice at all. They are going to be something to come forward from. So let's talk about that. Maybe next
2 wins this year. Which is, if my memory serves, 2 better than last year. That's a program on the up, and it sounds like they've got some talent to get on the back of and keep moving forward, which is great. And they seem, on the outside looking in, they seem to be doing it right as well.
Oh, they're great. Again, a great Instagram. If you want
Definitely.
one, they have this thing where they did training where they had L stands for, and everyone had to turn up at training with an object that started with L. And I think James comes up last and goes Lager, and then down to the kind of, it's just like that's what it's about. That's a great team. Steel Rivers too. I know they didn't win all the games in the day. They obviously lost the Warhogs, but their best finish ever. That was their best season they've ever had. So well done to well done to the guys there. They put in a really good year. They finished in 4th place overall, just underneath the Tridents. I think all in all, the Northern B was a tough conference. The fact that only one of them got through, as correctly pointed out by Kiwi, by the fractions of percentages. But let's just keep it what it is. Titans Bees, well done. We'll see you in Manchester. You don't need to be called because you get the finals played on your doorstep every year. Yeah.
Kiwi, as someone from Merseyside, the thought of seeing 3 Titans teams in the finals is shivers down your spine.
Yeah. Do you want to go there, you guys? Do you want to?
Well, yeah. I think Andy and I have both been on enough receiving ends of playing Manchester teams, whether it be women's football, mixed adult contact. I've been on the receiving end of it in flag now as well. So
yeah, 100%. But they were close, weren't they? They were only about about 6% away from it in the end, which is only a win or so, isn't it? So next year, maybe. Dread the thought. No, I'm joking, guys, obviously. Let's have a quick look then, because we've gone through all the divisions, but that turns out into a group. And obviously, there's 16 teams that make it into Division 1. So we have a wild card round and a round of 8 before we get into the quarterfinals. So the teams that will be facing out in the wild card round, and again, for the first time this year, we've got North versus South. So again, we'll preview all of this, but that leaves the quarterfinals. Your Border City Centurions will be waiting there for the lowest seed coming out of the round of 8. Cardiff Storm, Renfrewshire Raptors, and Chichester Tiger Sharks sitting there for 2 rounds, waiting for an opponent. VPP, Huntsman, Nomads, and Titan Bees will be waiting for the winners of the wildcard rounds as well. So again, it sticks out there that you've got 3 rookie teams waiting in those buys, isn't there? Which is amazing. And then that sets up a wildcard round, which is your Honey Badgers, Kiwi versus the Wolves, Mustangs versus Titans White, Falcons versus Revs. What a game that'll be, and Serpents Diablos, which might be the pick, but I'm sure we'll end up previewing all of this going down. But again, that is some day, isn't it? If you haven't been, go, because it's just mental.
Because we're scheduling and organising these games. Can you please put West Lancs and the Honey Badgers on the 2 fields beside each other so I could just stand in the middle and watch both games?
I think that's really fair.
Yeah,
it's very fair. I think that's very fair. And if it's not listened to, we should complain. Yes. I agree. That'd be delightful, because what we'll do is we'll stick you in the middle of 2. I'll be in the middle of another 2, and we can have Nick in the middle of another 2, and we'll be fine. We'll have all of them covered. 4 eyes on.
I think the wild card game to watch, and I know you love the Honey Badgers, but I think the wild card game, the first one that I certainly will be watching will be the Serps against the Diablos. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how the dynamic of the North and South clash against each other, and particularly with both those teams. I know a lot about the Serps. I'm learning a lot more days go on about the Diablos with a little bit of cheeky scouting, and that's going to be a game. That is going to be a really, really good game. Watch it. We're going to get to Manchester. That's going to be the only 0-0 that goes to one.
I did that last year. I was like, 2-0. Exactly. Yeah, safety. I did that. I think I did it last year, where I was like, I can't wait for this game, and then one of the teams turned up with like 4 players or something, and I was like, oh man, you just like can't imagine how that could have been if it had worked out. But yeah, that'll be the one that'll be like 7-6 or something, won't it? Rather than
despite everything you expect, it's going to be like a World Cup final. You have like
and we're going to pray this year for 2 days of sunshine, so that because to be fair, or else it was last year, it was a washout and nobody could watch anything because you couldn't see what was going on through the torrential rain. So let's pray that everybody gets 2 days of sunshine this year, so we can actually enjoy watching some games without trying to hold umbrellas and make sure our shoes aren't filled with water. And
we had an injury stop as well, didn't we, that Sunday? I'm pretty sure. Wasn't there
we donated all of our umbrellas. Yeah, someone had, I think, a back spasm or something, and it was horrid.
Yeah,
horrid. That had everything, didn't it?
It looked really bad from an angle, though. I remember at one point we were all kind of standing there because it stopped for some time, didn't it? And it was kind of broken the neck or something. I don't know. It was like there was a whole bunch of. There was obviously rumours abound all over the place, but fortunately.
Well, it didn't look good. If you were looking from the distance, you had someone covered with every single. I think we got every single
coat, blanket,
on top of them.
Umbrella.
We got every single umbrella around them, and then finally the organisers managed to find a gazebo to stick over the top of him as well. But yeah, that was a little bit of a wait, which was scary. But no, that was some Sunday and some weekend. So if you are dipping your toe into the flag pool, I would absolutely advise you to get yourself to Manchester on that weekend. The weekend after Brit Bowl, so you can just make it 2 weekends. It's fine.
But my other recommendation is check the forecast before you travel. Make sure you pack adequately for whatever the forecast is, because
for Manchester
could be chalk or cheese, right? Like that's the whole thing.
So just to the side of that, and the 3-tier structure, which now comes into effect after the end of the season, the congratulations, obviously, to the teams that are going to be going in the Prem. And as we said before, Raptors definitely deserve to be there. You know, we just mentioned that. Tiger Sharks going to be there. You've got Storm there, a rookie team, straight into the Prem. Well done. Congratulations.
Brilliant.
VPP, undoubtedly deserved. Nomads also. You got Tiger B and you got the Huntsman. They are all, if our maths are correct, Paul, a bit, based on your latest update, these are teams who are guaranteed to be promoted to the Premiership next year. The other teams, it's how things go. So there's a lot for grabs. Okay,
a lot. Yeah. Unlike in previous years where you then had a play-in tournament, didn't you? After all of this, you then had you had to face off against the team above, which I think will probably still come again next year, won't it?
In future,
this year, yeah. But with this shuffle of the alignments, if you want that, or want to use a phrase like that, then that's not going to happen this year, and it's all going to be about your playoff. For those wild card Division 1 teams, for everybody else, it's kind of all set in stone, isn't it? Now, where you're going to be next year, it's those wild card Division 1 teams. Are you going to be in Division 1 or the Prem? So.
The big story is going to be: is there a mathematical way that the Honey Badgers can play the Serpents, and can we Kiwi in the awkward position
of having to choose?
Choose between my friends and just my favourite team generally?
That's real difficult. That's
what we're going to do.
Yeah. Choose.
Hey, I'm easily swayed. You know, Westlake, so I don't have any of their merch either. So
Whoever brings me a T-shirt will be my favourite.
Yes. I'm easily swayed and bought with merch to expand my ever-growing collection. So
I think it can happen. I think it can. Hang on, I think this can happen if Mustangs win over Titans Whites, if Exeter Falcons win over Revs, and obviously if Serps beat Diablos, then I think you might be in a situation where you might be able to get Honey Badgers against Serps game. You might be able to. Or maybe
I think they would have to lose, wouldn't they? Because they've got people waiting for them in the next rounds, unless they get to the semi-finals, which would be lovely.
Or plate finals,
or plate. Exactly. You might see it in plate, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, watch Kiwi. That happens. Find Kiwi. We'll just watch her awkwardly distancing herself from her friends at the Serpents.
She'll turn up in inside football stuff, and she could be wearing green or purple. We don't know. It depends.
Ultimately, as they say in Division 1, sport's the real winner. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And merch.
And merch. Yeah.
And merch.
Either way, Kiwi wins. Oh wait, no, that's not the term, is it? Brilliant. Awesome. Well, that's it, isn't it? We've gone through that game day 7. We're now teed up for the playoffs. Next week, we're going to be talking to some special guests, me and Nick. Very looking forward to doing that. That's all I'm going to say. So look out for the special episode that will come late next week or early the week after. But we're catching up next week, and then we will be back to probably preview the playoffs, won't we, and come in before then, and then I'm sure we'll be back to talk about it all, because all of that, as we just said, we'll reshuffle and we'll find out what the alignments may or may not be the year after. So really looking forward to getting back with you guys to talk about more post-season flag football, and then we'll be in the build-up for October in the WFFL. I can't wait, let alone GB, let alone YFFL, Euros, which we need to touch upon as well. Euros. So there's plenty happening in the world of flag. So come along for the ride for sure. Thanks again, Nick and Kiwi, for joining us. It's great to get your input as always. Thank you for the listeners and the watchers for joining us. And we will be back again very soon compared to last time, because we'll have a bonus pod coming out very soon as well. So we'll catch you then. Take care.